All right, Black Power. It's the General Sarah Soon Seti, and I'm black at y'all ass again with this real fucking talk. We in the house, family. We in the house. Got my frankincense and myrrh on, you know what I'm saying? Got the good incense burning, bringing the ancestors on in the temple. We're gonna get this work today. Let me get my monitors up. We're gonna get this work today. Uh-oh. What the family doing out there? Patah in the house, Django in the house, two kings, two vicious kings. Keep them out the chat, family. They be waiting on Patah. Patah, man, check it out while you're out there, man. Django, man, y'all hit me up and give me some prospects, a couple of more moderators. You know what I'm saying? Because I know you brothers can't always be in the house. You know what I'm saying? And I don't be watching enough to know who with it and who ain't. You know what I'm saying? So I need some courageous brothers, you know what I'm saying, that's going to do that work. You know, keep these vagabonds out the chat room. You know what I'm saying? So drop me a message and let me know what time it is. You know what I'm saying? Woo! Got that work today on both YouTube channels, General Sarah, General Seti, Sarah Soon Seti. I'm working out later on this evening. You understand what I'm saying? Proof that the Catholics and Jews laid out the city of Mecca. I don't play no games. You know what I'm saying? When I drop, nigga, I drop atomic bombs. I drop nuclear bombs. You know, I don't play with that little lightweight shit. So if I pull up, nigga, it's damn near a done deal. You know, niggas' feelings will be hurt, but that's all. What else can I do but tell the truth? Today we're gonna be dealing with hidden gems and lost cities of Africa. This is a very special, you know, video for me because most of the time, you know, we talk about the great monuments of Africa. You know what I'm saying? And quiet is kept, man. There's gems all over Africa, man, that, you know, me, myself is just coming to understand, you know what I'm saying, recently. Because we got to understand Africa is a very big, big continent. You understand what I'm saying? It's the second largest continent on the planet. You understand? And, you know, and the most ancient, you know, I must add that. And so as we go off, you know, and you know, so many times, you know, they tell us how, you know, civilization was never in Africa, and we talking about some of them countries we not, you know, you wouldn't think, you know, it was some gems in them countries. We got to do a little digging, y'all. You know what I'm saying? We got to do some digging. We got to quit listening to the naysayers and shit, you know, about that, you know, the greatness of Africa. You know what I'm saying? In the smallest country, man, it's shocking. You know what I'm saying? To find, you know, that there is some architectural gems out there. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, family, for your support. You know what I'm saying? Thank you very much. It's gems all over Africa. So I'm always studying and telling people, yo, trap. You know, at the end of the day, you know, if I throw, you know, it ain't just for the family to just, you know, intellectually masturbate and get up there. Yeah, drop the science, but, you know, this is a blueprint for you to, you know, go overseas, you know, and already have a preview of what might be there, you know, and most of the time that preview is what encourage you to go on over there and see it, because there's some things that, you know, I'm just coming in, you know, to understanding just recently. And I say, let me bring this to the people, you know what I'm saying? Because we just, you know, they don't tell us about these, you know, these artifacts and these hidden gems and these lost cities. Now today, you know, this is a two-part, you know, video. And then I'm going to extend on it. The title is very powerful. So it'll be a part 1, part 2, part 3, where I'm digging up, you know, artifacts and cities and, you know, monuments and all over Africa that don't get the, you know, the acknowledgement. You know what I'm saying? And we need to understand that, you know, our peoples is great. and they ancient. You know what I'm saying? In West Africa, where we think, there's no ancient artifacts. You're wrong. Artifacts all over Africa, north, south, east, and west. Now, today, I'm starting off in Ethiopia, in which I had the pleasure of going to Ethiopia. Let me see. It was about 7 years ago. I'm about to get ready to start traveling again. But, because I've been, going from city to city. You know what I'm saying? I did a lot of my traveling, before, I started doing my lectures and whatnot. And so I done got into, era of just straight research. You know what I'm saying? And now it's time for me to go back out there. You know what I'm saying? I got my blueprint, 10 years of research after the fact, having 16 years before I went to Egypt, before I went to Mexico. So that was profound for me that I had that research, because when I got there, I was already looking for shit. You know what I'm saying? Now I done went and I've seen some things, and I come back and I do more research. Some people just keep going and keep going and keep going. And that's okay if that's all right. But I have to stop, and then I have to do more research to, prove what I saw, and, and all the books that I read, was they right? Was they wrong? And then once I, prove what books is necessary, prove what research is not necessary, then I do it all over again. And I go out again and I start doing that, that higher up, field research. And so it's about that time. And so today we starting with Ethiopia. And, again, we talk about Aksum, and we talk about, the Stela of Aksum, or the obelisks of Aksum, which are probably the national monuments. And then you got Lalibela, we talk about Lalibela, and, and then you got the Church of Mary, where the 10 Commandments, and this is others, but it's another gem in Ethiopia, couple of gems that don't get the recognition, and they keep them on the, you know what I'm saying, in the pocket. And when you talk about these areas, they don't get the type of publicity that Aksum and Lalibela get. But when you see it, you say, wow. You know what I'm saying? This is in Ethiopia, huh? And and when we go into Ethiopia, we're gonna see how this great empire of Ethiopia even extended into what today is called Arabia. Okay, now that's another video that I'm doing probably tomorrow. You understand? Because it must be done, but it'll be done in the Islamic series where it need to be, because that's where I'm focusing on, But even when we talking about the Aksumite, and even before Aksum, okay, because when you understand the Red Sea, and I'm just warming up so I can get you ready for this. When you're talking about the Red Sea, you got to understand that that's right across the water from the Great Nile Valley civilizations. And these were powerful empires that you got to understand that they control both sides of the sea. You understand what I'm saying? This wasn't an empire that was unaware of the important necessity of controlling both sides of the sea. So, today, they call it Arabia. Just like today, they call this land mass America. But if you go back 400 years, if you go over into Arabia and you go back 1,000 years, it would shock you the presence that African people had in that land. You understand what I'm saying? Especially around the coastal regions and in the southern part of Arabia, which is considered the best part of Arabia. They call it Arabia Felix. And so that's the central and most, which they call the paradise of Arabia. And that was always controlled by Africa because of the waterway, the economic waterway from Africa to Asia. You understand what I'm saying? And so ain't no way they would have ever let no goddamn goat herders control such a important geographical location like that. You know what I'm saying? And so just recently that they got control of that, and then now they want to, say that they were the ones that came into Africa, and brought certain aspects of civilization. And that's going to be an area where when I get ready to deal with Aksum and, deal with that and zoom in, because I will be zooming in to Ethiopian Aksum at some, time in the future and blow that shit out the water. You know what I'm saying? Because we got a lot of confused Negroes, even in Africa. You know what I'm saying? Because they of the Arab persuasion. You understand? They got some mixture here and there, and they give them Arabs, credit that is not due them. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm going to get your hands up off of the Holy Land real quick when I get on their head. And I'm going to be merciless when I do that. Now, let me get on into this fire power. We're going to get on this fire power. We're going to get on this fire power real quick. All right, let me go on and share the screen so we can get this work. I'm gonna bring y'all up on my phone. You hear me? And we're gonna get this work. Now, let me get you up. We're gonna start with the Temple of Yahoo. Let me get you up here, fam. Hold on. Okay, here we go. I'm up. I just want to make sure I can see everything go down. Okay, now we're talking about the Temple of Yahoo, Austin. Okay, now it's really on the outside of Austin, not that far. You know what I'm saying? And I got a map, and I'm gonna show you exactly where it's at. You know what I'm saying? This is the oldest structure in Ethiopia, and it was supposedly during the time of the Queen of Sheba. I'll get into that later. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm not one to, get off into the Hebrew aspects of, African history, because I don't believe that, I believe that the Ethiopians have grafted towards the Hebrew faith and have denied a more ancient faith that was in the Nile Valley, thousands, in which we're going to prove thousands upon thousands of years before a Queen of Sheba or a Solomon. Okay, now the Temple of Yahoo, and I'm about to get in there, the oldest standing structure in Ethiopia. The Temple of Yahoo is located in Yahoo. This is a tower built in the Sabaean style. Now, that's why I deal with that, because Sabaean, coming up out of the Bible. You understand what I'm saying? And Sabea is connected with Sheba. But when we get off into this research, you're going to see that there are two nations that are claiming the origin of the Queen of Sheba. You got Ethiopia, and then you got Yemen. See, this is where the problem is. Now, because the civilization expanded across Africa and southern, what today is called Arabia. And now the Arab, who ain't nothing but a vagabond, who have moved upon the sites that were originally Ethiopian sites, are now trying to stake a claim that the Queen of Sheba came from Yemen, and it was them that came across the Red Sea and brought the civilization. See, this is what we talking about, and that's why we got to stay on their head. You understand? Because not only is they trying to steal Egypt, and I'm gonna deal with that. I'm gonna crush their heart with that. And, you know, they trying to steal all aspects of African culture. And we as Africans, we got to step up and defend our goddamn culture. You understand what I'm saying? You say something about Muhammad or any one of them Islamic prophets, they be ready to go jihad on your ass. But we as a people, not even, many of us not even knowing our history, we allow these people to just walk on our culture, seize our culture. And as long as we allow people to do that, we ain't gonna have nothing. You understand what I'm saying? So thank, you know, the gatekeepers that came before us and, you know, went upside their head, but there's a lack of gatekeepers today that's continuing to put the foot on their neck. And so again, that's why I knew it was time for SETI to hit this internet much harder and get this information out here to a broader mass so they could get this research, get this work, you understand, do deeper research, you understand what I'm saying, and spread this wisdom. And okay, and dated and built in the Sabaean style and dated through comparison with ancient structures in South Arabia to around 700 BC. Now, Yeha, if you look all the way to the north, you'll see Yeha is right up under Aqsa. Okay, you'll see it right at the top. And so that's where we about to go and see this great location. Now, this is the temple. Okay, now this is the temple. It's 700 BC. And they've found, you know, they've found many artifacts, and we're going to look at some of the artifacts that was in the temple, and it looked comparatively like some of the, and we're going to show this, like some of the structures that are in Yemen. Okay, we're going to go across the Red Sea and check that out, because that's us. Okay, the Arab was a goat herder. And I'm going to say that again. He was a goat herder, and that's all he's ever been. Any of the civilization that you see over there today, they borrowed from the West, who borrowed it from us, okay, who got it from the Africans, okay? And so they've never been, as a matter of fact, even amongst other people in the world, the Arabs was looked down upon as the most ignorant population on the planet Earth. Before the coming of the Quran, it was called in Arabian civilization and culture. I don't even know if they got civilization, but we'll say culture, that the age of before the Quran is the age of Jahiliyyah, which is the age of ignorance. So they had nothing, you understand what I'm saying, but a tent and a goddamn goat. Okay, and so we're talking about some megalithic structures, and the Arab ain't picked up nothing more heavy than some goat shit. Okay, so we're gonna be real about that. They ain't never picked up no megalithic structure. If that was so, you would see that all over the Arab world. I can show you later on what Mecca looked like in the early 1800s. Okay, and compared to what it looked like today. You see what I'm saying? And so looking at, I didn't get a chance to get here. You understand? I didn't get a chance to get here, even though I was in the area, okay? But this is the oldest structure, and you know what? That's up for debate. You know what I'm saying? Because again, I was, you know, as I was in Ethiopia, I can't help but to bring it up that I had to challenge a whole lot of Ethiopians who was just so in love with Islam. You know what I'm saying? They was in love with them damn Arabs. You know, Habashash and Habashash this and Habashash that. You understand what I'm saying? They got a complex. And I must state that. I'm not saying all Ethiopians, but a lot of them do. You know what I'm saying? They got a persuasion. Those that, you know, have been influenced by the Arab, they will promote that. And so Habashash is also that Sabaean Habashash, the Arab influence, and where they even look down on traditional African, you know, cultures. And we got to understand this, that when you look at an Ethiopian today, most people look at the Haile Selassie types, and that's what they see. They say, oh, that's he. No. Do you know how many different tribes are in Ethiopia? It's over 100 and some, like 50 different ethnic tribes in Ethiopia. And so when you say Ethiopian, you can't just look at what you know, quote unquote, the Haile Selassie types, and that's an Ethiopian. We got to get out of that, but that's where we've been pushed, and I have to say that the lighter types, the high, and I must say that, and because it's true, they get, it's like almost like a caste system. I must state that. And those who were termed Semitic, or the Ptolemaic Makeda dynasty, they got, higher up, as far as, the caste system. But the Africans that were part of the traditional, more ancient, African culture, you know what I'm saying? They, there was a prejudice. It was a certain racism. And we want to say that on our own people, that where they were treated different. Okay, got to state that. So this, at 700 BC, this is, this is profound. But me, myself, and they give this, and I must state that this is an artifact, a temple in Africa. And so I give it all the respect that's due it. But because it's connected with the Sabaean, period, is given so much, this is the most ancient, and, so and so. And when you can look at the stela in Aksum and understand that the science that would have went into, constructing those obelisks is far more ancient than 700 BC. You know what I'm saying? Far more ancient than 700 BC. But here but we must give credit where credit is due. At 700 BC, ain't shit going on in Europe. Just to say that, ain't nothing going on in Europe. No Grecian temple has been built. No Roman temple has been built, even at 700 BC. And as you can see, this is a very strong foundation for this temple to be still standing. And they're doing some work on it as we speak right now. And so as you look at the particular, style and the architecture, when we get over into Yemen, you're going to see that, this temple here looks very similar to structures that is in Yemen, which is, we already know that the Ethiopians, even in the Bible, and I don't give the stories, no credit of being real, but there is some truth, because you got to use a little truth to get the African people on the track. You're not going to bring a mouse to a trap unless you got some cheese. And so they give you a little truth. They give you a little truth to get you on the track. You know what I'm saying? But even in the Bible, it states that the Hermetics, which are the Africans, was in control of the landmass. They tell you that, and we can back that up. So when a book gives credit where credit is due, then we have to take that and use it against the book and use it against history that's telling us otherwise. Okay, and so again, looking at this temple at 700 BC, it don't look like it's gonna fall down no time soon neither. And it was built on a strong foundation, a bedrock. And so it's solid. You know what I'm saying? It's solid. And so it's probably gonna be here for another, 700 years, 1,000 years. When African people build, they build of an extraordinary level to where their temples is here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And so this is very extraordinary. Now, these are some of the inscriptions that they found inside of the temple at Yahoo. Okay? And you can see the Sabaean script. And as we go across the water, you feel me, we're going to see this same. Now, let me be real with you. Anybody that's studying ancient scripts understand that what we call the Medunetta today is the mother of all scripts. It's the mother of all script. There's no script on this planet in that area that didn't come out of the Demotic or the cursive form, which they call the hieratic. You understand? Whether they, understand the language as our ancestors understood the language is totally different. They took the symbols and they match certain sounds to those symbols and use the script. That's exactly what they did and created a language. So when you look at the Sabaean language, which it don't take me long to look at it, you can see is nothing but a derivative of what we call the Medunat. Okay, and anybody that sit down long enough, and matter of fact, Europeans have already explained that, even though we don't need them to explain it. And I'm sick of people, and I'm gonna get on some of these Europeans that these Negroes is already always quoting from out here today, such as Sham, Graham, Hancock. You got this motherfucker Beauval, what's his name, Beauval, and Robert Bruval, and all these different Europeans of the day that, you know, because it's shameful to me, you know, and it hurt my goddamn heart that where European people have denied African people even had civilization. Do you hear what I'm saying? They have denied for so long, and soon as there's a discovery, here come one of these nasty motherfuckers, and they doing all the explaining, you know what I'm saying? They know it all. They done went right behind one of these trees when the camera wasn't on and got some information from one of our brothers, one of our sisters, got them, then went off and did a video and wrote a book and did. Now they getting all the goddamn and still lying to the people about truly what it is, because if it takes tens of thousands of goddamn years to create it, how the fuck you think you gonna explain it in 15 motherfucking minutes? I'm sick of this shit. And so we got a lot of culture vultures, and we got to, as a people, we got to put the black, we got to quit using European people as a primary reference or a reference at all. You understand what I'm saying? Because the reality is, if you doing the type of research that you're supposed to be doing, you can damn near, especially if you doing this research in sequence, putting the African civilizations as your primary research. And as you move out, yeah, you can damn near take a guess, you know, until you know, because that's what you're doing until you can get there. You trying to put together a blueprint for research. And so you have to look at it yourself, and you have to take an educational guess based off of solid research that you done already done. You know what I'm saying? You got a better motherfucking chance of taking your own goddamn guess than taking anything from these European people, because they would rather get a credit to a goddamn alien than give it to African people. And that's just basically what all these new age motherfuckers is doing. And we understand that our ancestors were very cosmological, astronomical beings that have charted the stars for hundreds of thousands of years. But believe me, believe you me, that is no way that we're going to be able to just explain, hundreds of thousands of years of astronomical research without again going through them cycles and document it again. You know what I'm saying? Solid documentation. So that starts now, and we hand it down to our babies, and they continue to process and hand it down, and only seeing it for yourself, charting these stars over and over and over. Just because you see a site that may have been astronomical, you can only research where the star systems is today. You cannot research, you can guess and this, that, and the third, but factual information, you have to be in those houses of cosmological origin of, and there's many houses, 12 houses in the 364 and 1/4 year, solar year of the Earth's revolution. And then you got the sun also moving in a revolution, which some people, and I don't, I say it, and I say it casually, because nobody has actually, that I know of today's note, have kept a record from ancient times that can document that the solar year, the great solar year, is 25,000 years. You know what I'm saying? Nobody has, that I know of that has documented. We say it, but who knows what that, and so until we lay out that research, and that means we got to do research for 25 fucking thousand years. And we've done that. We've been on this planet for millions. So 25,000 years is nothing. You know what I'm saying, to our people. But we got to quit letting European people who just come out the goddamn cave just 2 days ago run into Africa and explain, you know, ancient artifacts and ancient monuments and ancient, you know, spiritual sacred places in Africa, explain it to our people when they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And I don't even see why African nations even allow these people to come in and even speak, you know, and misspeak about our ancient history. Okay, now, this is a statue now. This was actually found in Yemen. You understand what they call him, the bronze man? Found at Al-Badai, ancient kingdom of Saba, 6th and 7th century BC. Okay, it's in the Louvre Museum. Now, anybody could look at that and in their right mind see that the brother got dreadlocks. He got a little short dreadlock. And you can see the wool on his beard, okay? So we already know, you don't got to be no goddamn scientist. You ain't got to be no motherfucking anthropologist. You ain't got to be no, you ain't got to be no goddamn biologist or no other kind of ologist. You understand? Because it's just some science that, that come with the African mind, that we can just use our mind without any stamp from anybody and come to a conclusion that it ain't too many people on the planet with woolly hair. Okay, that's just a fact. I ain't never seen no goddamn Arabs wear no goddamn dreadlock. Okay, so they found this right here at Al-Badai. Now, let me see, is it on this map? If it's not, it's going to be on the next map. As you can see to the left, you see Arabia Felix. Okay, now that's the most, the most lush part of Arabia. Now, ain't really no lush part of Arabia, but that's the best part. Okay, Yemen. And you see it's a lot of, nonsense going on over there today. But originally and you can see how close it is to Africa. You could damn near, it looked like you from the tip of Yemen to the, that certain right there in Ethiopia. And I think they didn't even took that, when the Europeans came into Africa, they cut the Ethiopians off from the Red Sea. They cut them off. That was military. All of that used to be Ethiopia, but they created the nation of Eritrea and they created the nation of Djibouti. Them goddamn nations didn't even exist. The Europeans created them nations to cut Ethiopia and so that they could control that waterway. That's exactly what they did. The British, I think the British is solely responsible for creating them. And they created all the rest of that shit over there, in Asia, separating Kuwait from Iraq and all of that shit. And so when Saddam Hussein went over there and took back Kuwait, we have to understand, because Saddam Hussein said Kuwait was originally a part of Iraq, and it was. The whole damn, what you call the Persian Gulf, you understand? All them nations, that was a part of Iraq. That was a part of Iraq at that time. Wanting to control all the waterways in the world, they set up fake nations so that they could have, an excuse for having their soldiers and their ships in that area. Okay, so again, we're looking at the kingdom of Sheba, which they call Saba. And like I say, now, today the Arabs control Arabia Felix. And they ain't all the way up. You got to understand that you talking about Egypt and Nubia, these were the greatest empires on the planet. By default, they were going to control the land opposite of the Red Sea. So now today, you look at it as it's ain't no goddamn Arabs over there, family. They hiding, and I'm telling you, they hiding Egyptian artifacts in that land right now so that we won't make the connection that it was that's a part of Egypt. That's a part of Nile Valley. Arabia broke away from Africa. It's a piece of Africa, And when, through the tectonic plates and, the pulling away from the continent has caused that water to come up in there. But technically, Saudi Arabia, what you call Arabia, is a portion of Africa. And when you look at the landmass, and, it is Africa. You understand what I'm saying? It's not connected to Asia. If I could get a chance, and maybe not today, I could show you how the mountains separate Africa and what you call Arabia from Asia. So Arabia is Northeast Africa. Don't be twisted about that. Okay. And so again, but they is right there. So you see, this is where they found that bronze statue at what they call Badé. You see what I'm saying? That's deep up in there. You understand what I'm saying? So showing you, family, that the African was even in what they call Arabia, and not as an Arab. You don't see him as no Arab. You understand what I'm saying? Don't no Arab wear no goddamn dreadlocks, and I want to be done with that. And see right there, you see Oxum, and you see that area and how great that area was, as far as controlling the trade, even for Egypt. That's why Egypt, you got, the great civilizations of the Nile Valley. You got Egypt, you got Nubia, and you got many districts within each one of those nations. And you have Punt and Aksum. Okay, and Punt was before even Aksum. You know what I'm saying? Punt was in the area of what we call Ethiopia and Somalia today, because there's records of the Egyptians going to Punt. You can see it at Hatshepsut's funerary temple. You see them going to Punt, and I have to do, and that'll be on Lost Cities. We'll do that part 2 or 3 where we deal with Punt. You understand what I'm saying? Where you the frankincense and the myrrh, and it's only certain areas in the world that grow those very valuable fragrances, and that we internationally known today. Right in that area of what we call Ethiopia, the Horn of Africa, Somalia, and the southern portions of Arabia, which we call Yemen. So we don't be looking at how, this is how Aksum became as powerful as it was, because it controlled international trade between the Roman Empire, the Indian Empire, and China. Okay? Now, the Queen of Sheba temple in Yemen. Now, this is actually in Yemen. This is Marib. Okay, now let me see if I can get Marib over here. Okay, we see here where Marib is located. If you look in southern Yemen, you see Marib. Okay, so this is where they found this particular temple and this script. So as you can see, it's the same script that we see in Ethiopia. Okay, we're proving. We're not saying so. Now, who decides the history? Because the documented fact is that it is what we say it is. It was one empire. But who's going to control the narrative? Is it going to be the Arab going to control the narrative, or is it going to be the African that control the narrative? When you look in the Nile Valley, it's no doubt who is the greatest producers of civilization. It's just too many in the Nile Valley for the Arabs to even compete. Okay, so for them to say they brought anything into Africa, damn, that make me fall out this damn chair laughing at they dumb ass. I don't even know if they understand how silly and very silly and ignorant that they sound. How the hell you gonna be ignorant and arrogant at the same damn time? You know what I'm saying? You cannot be both. That's like putting cologne on and you ain't even washed up. You funky. And then you go and put some damn cologne on. And so being arrogant and ignorant at the same time is along the lines of that, just that. Putting on cologne without washing up, and you're funky. And you can smell both of them. So don't do that. Our people got knowledge of self today, and they can easily thwart any type of lies. And, you used to being able to do that because our people been deaf, dumb, and blind. But today, we're wide awake. But it got to be more of us hitting that front line. Every time that motherfucking ball So, hype them up for hitting that line. You know, we got to get these people up out of our history, out of our culture, out of explaining anything. You know, I'm longing to see the day when only African people is telling the history of Africa. You know what I'm saying? That's the only true way it can be done. The only people that can tell the truth about African history is African people. Real Africans. I'm not just talking about, because some of these Negroes go to Harvard and Yale and they come and these niggas is, you know, they worse than the goddamn white man sometimes. But here it is. This is a temple, the temple in Yemen. Now, this is supposedly the temple of the Queen of Sheba. Okay, now I've been to the temple of Sheba, the castle of Sheba in Ethiopia. I didn't even put it in here. You understand? I should have, but the next time we revisit this, you know, I'll put it in here so we can see. But just Yahoo is good enough because you see the same type of brick. You see the same. You're gonna see the same type. And again, look at this. I'm gonna bring you back to this as we move into the second hour of when we deal with the stone circles. I was just doing this. And the crazy part about it, that's an African tradition. I got it. There ain't no goddamn, it's in wherever you see it all over South Africa, all over West Africa. You know what I'm saying? And you can see the cultural continuity of our people all over Africa, just with the stone, the stone calendars. And not all of them are calendars. Some of them are both burials and calendars and astronomical clocks. Short time, long time, but you see that from Stonehenge on down into West Africa, Burkina Faso, all the way down to Great Zimbabwe, all the way down into South Africa. We got many of these circles, and and they have dual properties where they're not just calendars. Some of them, they're built astronomically, connected to certain stars. But, for some, they lived in these areas. They weren't just, some were burials, but the circle and the stone calendars, the stone walls are all over the world. And this is along the lines of what we talked about. As the Africans moved, wherever they moved, they took their culture with them. Now you got European people say, oh, we see some circles. Nigga, you ain't cracking. You ain't had nothing to do with that. Okay, you didn't have nothing to do with it. Y'all just crawled out of the cave with Alexander. European history really don't start until Alexander. That's it. That's when European history starts, with Alexander. And even at that time, they didn't have no strong writing system, so they don't have no literature or nothing at that time. So looking from the top of this temple, you can see it's on the lines of many more African temples, the circular temple, just like Zimbabwe, just like the South African circles, stone circles. West Africa, you got the Wasu circles, stone circles of Senegambia, which we're going to show. You understand this? And on the same lines of Stonehenge. Okay, and I'm going to lay this out in the next episode, where I go into the stone circle. Because as I was doing this, I say, damn, I didn't get a chance to look at it from the aerial view. And then when I look down at it from the aerial view, I say, well, damn, and I'm telling y'all this today. You know what I'm saying? I was already doing the stone, Noctiplier, which is in Nubia. And, all of these ancient stone clocks and calendars are in the South. And this is exactly what we was talking. So if we move to where I was saying, how in the hell y'all gonna claim Egypt when we can prove that Africa is far older than Egypt? You can't go and say no damn Mayans created Egypt when you could go in Africa and you can go in South Africa and you got artifacts and temples and astronomical clocks that are tens of thousands of years older than Egypt. You don't have to go nowhere. All of that is a precursor to what later was taken into Egypt. Okay, and we're gonna show and prove that. This is also in Yemen, in Yemen. And if you look at Yahoo, and we'll go back to that, you understand it's on that same level, same architectural design and blueprint. Ruins of the historical dam of the former Sabaean capital of Yemen, not of the whole empire, okay, of Yemen. You know, this was a district capital, but the capital of the whole empire was, okay, in Ethiopia, make that clear, okay, of the former Sabaean capital of Marib, amidst the Sarawat Mountains of present-day Yemen, okay? Is we in the house? We're in the house, okay. I thought I seen they said we dropped it. So if you go over there and, you know, and you get a chance, and if you want to go, I wouldn't go over there because they bombing and killing and shit over there right now. And a lot of it is being blown up, you know what I'm saying? They've even bombed the so-called Temple of Sheba over there. So when you get over there, you know what I'm saying, you can see that, you know, our family have been here. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, their structures are still there. You know, whether the Arab got the power to reconstruct it. Now, many people's are still here, but it's almost abandoned. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you get a lot of thieves and vagabonds out in these areas now because, you know, nobody wants to be here. There's no law. You know, it's lawless and whatnot. And so if you go, you got to go with armed guard or you might not make it out. So this is, you know, the southern portions of Yemen, and it's some African artifacts that's there. They are just like anywhere else. But we got to get in there and do the research, and if we can, before they destroy it. Because if you can look on the internet, the Arab is good at destroying shit that don't belong to them. If you know, many artifacts since the so-called ISIS, which ain't nothing but the Europeans, ain't nothing but the Americans. You know, they done been destroying a lot of artifacts over there in Mesopotamia or Iraq. You know what I'm saying? That's not theirs. You know what I'm saying? It's not theirs. And that just show and prove, you know what I'm saying, all along what we were saying. Because if the Arab looked at Iraq, you know, or any of that as being there, they wouldn't have destroyed it. You understand what I'm saying? When you look at Egypt and this, that, if them same type of damn Muslims was in Egypt, it wouldn't be shit standing. I done seen them blow Buddhas out there in Afghanistan. If y'all remember where they blew, you know, the Taliban blew a giant Buddha up out the damn, you know, mountain because they didn't give a goddamn about it. You know what I'm saying? They feel, according to Islam, that it's sacrilegious and blasphemous to have, you know, idolatry and idols and this, that, and third, except them ones that was in the Kaaba. You understand what I'm saying? Them 360 idols, which we're going to deal with later. Let me keep it moving. Okay, so this is showing you the great, you know, the two aspects of the awesome, which they call Sabaean. I don't, you know, the Sabaean is biblical. And see, that's another way that, you know, once you, you know, put the Bible in check and show people that that right there is a mythology. Yes, there is some truth in it, you understand, but it ain't got nothing to do with the titles and the identification codes that they give them. African people were in the land. They were not called Sabaean. They call them Sabaean because what do? That give credit to the Quran and to the Bible as being factual, which is not. Okay, just because we say we could go in the Bible and say and show where they do say we were in the land, which they do say that, and they took it from us. That ain't got nothing to do with the identification codes that they give it Sabaean, this Nimrod or Abraham. That's bullshit. That's just stories created to justify why they took it. Well, God chose you, and so he say you can go in there and kill everybody. You know what I'm saying? So they need a justification of why they took our land and why they still on our land. They say God ordained them to do it. And they created a mythological stories to justify this. See, the story don't mean shit, but the fact that we were on the land and that they took it from us is facts. And so we must state that your book just does document that you took the land. You took it from us. Okay? And so when we get ready to take it back and we go upside your goddamn head, you gonna know why. Okay? Because just like your God justified you taking our damn land, our gods have justified us in busting your head when we take it back. You see what I'm saying? Hey, we got to get a God that's on our side. You understand? And we can go through this, but even in the Bible, which we will use against the Yemenites, the Arabs, is that, as you can see, Sabaean or Sabia was in connection with Ethiopia and with Egypt, which if you went through my Nimrod, where I touched on Nimrod, and I'm going to touch on this again, going through all the biblical dictionaries and encyclopedias where they give it up and tell the truth that the Ethiopians was black, the Egyptians was black, and all of the Hamitic tribes were Africans and black, and that's why they cursed them. Okay, that's why they cursed them. And Sabia was also one of the children of Ethiopia, just as Nimrod. Okay, just as Nimrod, which is a fictional character, but what it does document is that our people, African people, was in Iraq, was in Iran, was in Arabia. Okay, they were in all them lands. And so that's what we document out the book. The rest of that shit, you could throw it right on in the garbage. You understand what I'm saying? But once we have to squeeze the juice out the orange, and once you get all the good juice up out of it, then you throw the peel in the garbage, and that's what we do with the Bible. Okay, and you see here again, Saba, Egypt, Ethiopia. And I'm not going to go into this. You can read it for yourself. Isaiah 43, verse 3 and 4, just 3. Verse 3, where you see Saba, Ethiopia, and Egypt, to show you that area, the whole, was in league and in the Hamitic bloodline. Now, the Arab thing, we stupid because, I hold them to their lie. You understand what I'm saying? Because when you tell one lie, you got to tell another lie, you got to tell another lie, you got to tell another lie. And so they supposed to be children of Abraham, which are the Semitic race. But yet, then they want to claim Hamitic areas. They want to claim Hamitic civilizations, which are African. Now, what side of the fence you want to be on, Arab. Either you want to be a Semitic of the bloodline of Abraham. You can't be black because you're not black. You're not African. Okay, and then in the definitions of the Bible, dictionaries and encyclopedia, Ethiopia is burnt black. Nigga, they ain't just you black, nigga, you burnt black. Okay, and so that diffuses all, trying to, present a false identity for the Arab people who are not African people. Let's deal with that. And all of the mixture of these Negroes. And so they rather be racist against their own African people for their Arab fathers who raped the African women. Okay, no different than the European did the same. Okay, now I'm gonna come back to this because this right here we're gonna come in and you're gonna see this is in the Lord of the Rings, because in the Lord of the Rings, this particular castle city is called Gondor, but in Africa, the great Camelot city is called Dar. Okay, we're gonna look and see how they still in our culture. And even when you talk about Mordor, you understand what I'm saying? You hear the Mord, the black, the evil land where the demons and shit is located. They still in our culture and hiding in all these movies. So when we get to Gondar, Ethiopia, we're gonna come back to this to show, because Gondar is called the Camelot of Africa, and we moving into that because there was many castles that were built in Ethiopia, again, the hidden gem that we don't know about. You understand what I'm saying? For over close to 150 years, Gondar, see now it's spelled Gondar when you go to the movie, when you discussing Lord of the Rings, it's spelled Gondor, Gondor, okay? And so they, again, they stealing our history, hiding it off in these goddamn movies like we don't know what the hell is going on. Okay? Now, as you can see, Fossil Jebi is the second star from the top. You see Awesome, and then you see Fossil Gebi. That's the area where this fortification of Ethiopian kings and queens, this was the capital of Ethiopia at that time. We're talking about from about 1632, 36 to in the 1800s. Okay, this area was the capital of Ethiopia. And so this is a blueprint of Gondar. I was there, you know what I'm saying? And I got a chance, and it's a magnificent place. You're talking about the early 1600s. See, we thinking, and we always think like, damn, we wasn't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? And slavery was jumping off, but in many other areas of Africa, it wasn't just no damn slavery. So even though slavery was jumping off, it was still, other aspects of civilization that was happening. Even during slavery, it wasn't just slavery, and that's a wicked aspect of our history that we got to deal with. But even through the trying and, demoralizing times, there was still, the sun was, busting through, you know what I'm saying, to let us know that, Africa was, was about to come back, you know what I'm saying? We were still doing some great things, even in these troubling times. So here we looking at the compound, and I think you had 5 castles on this, along with other, buildings such as bathhouses and whatnot. And we're about to look at these beautiful castles. Okay, let me come on through here. Now, this is Fasilitis, and then you see another castle in the back. You know what I'm saying? Now, a lot of people don't know that there was castles in Africa. And the first one, which is the largest one, the castle of Fasilitis, and he started Gondar around 1636 AD. Okay, they was looking for, because, we talk about Africa, but Ethiopia was always, there was always conquerors trying to come into the land. And so when you look at Ethiopia has something like 5 capitals. You know what I'm saying? They had to move around, you know what I'm saying? Because it was, you had conquerors coming in from the north. You had conquerors coming in from across the, the Arabian Peninsula. You had the Europeans coming in. So you had Addis Ababa is today the capital. Then you had, Aksum was the capital. Then at one time, Lalibela was the capital. And even Gondar was the capital. So, and then it was one before that. You know what I'm saying? So Ethiopia then had at least 5 to 6 different capitals. Okay, let me move through this. And so I've been in this particular castle, and when you get in, I mean, it's a beautiful structure, no doubt about it. The work, the craftsman work that went into it, the wood work and everything, is magnificent. You know what I'm saying? And and our people built this. Okay, and there's many different, aspects of art. Is Nubian in this too, and that's very profound. And they also use some Portuguese, and they use 3 different architectural styles when they built these castles. Okay, Nubian, Portuguese, and it's another one. I think I don't even want to say Italian, but it might have been some Italian in it too. Okay, but these was African masons. And I want to tell you, even when I was in Ethiopia, they were in Ethiopia building. You could tell them masons in Ethiopia ain't lost nothing. So if people, you keep looking at these goddamn commercials where they showing, babies are starving. That was a particular situation, and it was a hurtful situation. But the Ethiopian is a very proud and ancient people. And so they still had that resiliency. You understand what I'm saying? They're very proud people, very resilient people. Okay, and they'll let your ass know in a minute, I'm one of the ancient, you know what I'm saying, in a heartbeat. And when you get around Ethiopia, you see why. You know what I'm saying? They hold themselves to be so proud. Okay, and so looking at this great art of, and like I say, this is just one. Okay, this is just part of the compound. Now, this is the bathhouse of Fasilitis. Okay, I'm gonna show you it when I was also here. You know what I'm saying? And you can see where there's no water down there, but I got one where the water is there. And so this is an aspect that they really don't show about Ethiopia. You know what I'm saying? They want you to think that, niggas was in huts and shit and this, that, and this is Ethiopia, and then it's other nations right along at the same time. They've hidden African history far too long. And in doing that, they've been able to create this perception that there's just wide gaps in between Egypt and Nubia, and that there's no continental relationship between East and West, North and South. That shit is over with. There's a cultural continuity that you gonna see that's from North, South, East, and West, understanding our people was moving all across this continent, trading all across this continent, going from out of one culture into the next culture. And so even though we are distinct in particular tribe and ethnicity, African people are African people. When you get down to the core basis of what African culture is about, you can go in most of all African cultures and you will find that cultural continuity where you will say they come from one mama. That's the bottom line. Everybody on the African continent come from one mama. Okay, so this is showing you, and this is during a particular Christian, Ethiopian Christian festival. I think it was Epiphany. I forget what they call it. You know what I'm saying? And so they, in many of these architectural wonders, they're connected to the church. And so you'll have many festivals, various spiritual ceremonies at these castles and all over Africa, just like you have at Lalibela. And so mostly all these are these spiritual places and these temples and these castles are connected to the church. Now this is Johannes. Now Johannes the First, he came after Fasilitis. I think Fasilitis, he ruled from 1632 to 1667. And he was the first one. He's the one that made Gondar the capital of Ethiopia. Okay? And then his son, Johannes the First, he ruled from 1667 to 1682. Now, those two structures right there was his castle and one of his chancellery. Okay, his library and his chancellery. Okay, and so I think they were the two smallest, or his castle was the smallest on the compound. Okay, we're gonna get an up close of it. Today you can see them in another. I said Nubian, but he also had Moorish architecture in there too. You can look at the arches and how the brick is laid. That's also Moorish. You see what I'm saying? So they the Ethiopians put a lot of different dimensions in. Nubian, Moorish, Portuguese. Very beautiful. And this was the chancellery. And you can see these structures are strong. You're talking about 1600. You got to understand, America wasn't even here. You understand what I'm saying? America wasn't even here, family. Ain't no 1776 or none of that shit. You understand what I'm saying? And here we is in Africa, continuing. These is African kings and queens. And I love it. And, how the Ethiopian queens receive such high, regard, just because of the Queen of Sheba. On that same line of, even though we know that the Queen of Sheba might be mythological, the story is still a profound story nonetheless. And so some stories, you know, even though I shoot down the Bible, some of them I explain my position and I'll leave it alone. Because if we see her as an African woman, we got mythological stories. Everything not gonna be historically, got to be historically documented. Some things are mythological in origin, legends, and sometimes those legends and the mythologies, they contain our national pride. And so the Queen of Sheba, holds a lot of national pride for Ethiopian people. So, that's an African woman. She's right along the line of the Kandaki queens of Nubia, where the Nubian queens were, had dynasties where the woman was in control of it, and the king was the consort. You understand what I'm saying? He was the consort, and the woman was out front. She was the head ruler, where the queens ruled Nubia for at least, I don't know, close to 400-500 years. You see what I'm saying? So she right in that light. So we see Gondar was founded by the Emperor Phasaelitis in 1636 and was the capital of the country for the next 2 centuries. The city's main imperial precinct, known as the Royal Enclosure, covers an area of 7.7 hectares and contains 5 castles, raised walkways, and connecting tunnels surrounded by high stone wall built in the mid-17th, 18th century. Okay, it reflects a number of influences: Oxumite, Portuguese, and they say Indian. We see the Nubian. The Moorish. I don't even like saying Indian and all of that shit because we give too much credit to them without explaining that the Indians ain't nothing but the Kushites. Now, if you explain it in that way, but if you's a Negro and you love to ride another man's jock and give him like them goddamn Habashash and you want to ride the Arab jock, I don't let up off your ass. Okay? And besides the Royal Enclosure, visitors inspects the bathing palace of Emperor Phasaelitis, which is used for the annual Timkat. That's what I was talking about over at the bath house. That's Timkat, or Epiphany celebration. The ruins of the palace and abbey of the redoubtable 18th century Empress Mentawai. Okay, and I'm gonna show you where the queen got a castle, and that's how we did the queen. The queen got her own castle. You understand what I'm? That ain't like they wasn't together, but hey, this is the queen. She did her own with her, her workers and she has certain aspects of influence and responsibility where she needed her own area, where she can, get her workers and her political workers together where they could do the work that was necessary for the queen. You see what I'm saying? And so this is profound when we looking at Africa. You don't go, you ain't gonna see that. And then the fact that the Yemenis, the Arab, and the way they treat women, and just like Dr. Clark said, you ain't never heard of an Arab woman ruling any Arab nation. I ain't never, ever, ever, ever in my life ever heard of a woman ruling any damn Arab nation. And if you can bring that to me, or Islamic, please bring that to me. I would love to hear about that. You know what I'm saying? They have a total disregard for a woman. And when you hear of Ethiopia celebrating Queen of Sheba, and you see how they treat their goddesses today, that falls in line with that. When you go down in Nubia and see how the goddesses and queens rule dynastic areas for 4 and 5, that's along the line of African people. The Queen of Sheba ain't got no place in no Arab culture, and they know it. Quit stealing, thief. Quit stealing. You understand what I'm saying? We got to get their hands. You know how, when you get that ruler and shit, and you motherfucker trying to steal, right? And you see the motherfucker out the corner of your eye, and you act like you don't see that motherfucker. Let him inch his hands up there, right? And you got that ruler. You didn't take 2, 3 of them motherfuckers. And you see the motherfucker, you got something on your table, and they think you ain't watching them, and they go over there and they ease their hand, and you waiting too. You just let them, you just let them get closer and closer, let them think you ain't looking. As soon as he got enough of that hand out there where you can get across the back, you just bow, and you hit that motherfucker hard as you can, damn near break the bones in the top of his damn hand. You know what I'm saying? That's what we got to do with these people trying to ease up on our culture. You know what I'm saying? Now let me keep moving. This is Yazoo. Yasu, which was one of they call him the Great. Yasu the first, 1682, 1706. Okay, 17. Now this is his castle, right behind Pheasalitis' castle. Okay, and it's something I could see where in the back something was, because at the same time, y'all got to understand they was bombing these damn areas when, during where, Mussolini had conquered Ethiopia, and, he did not hold all of Ethiopia. He didn't really conquer it. Let me not say that. He invaded. Let me get my wording together. He invaded Ethiopia, but he never had full control of Ethiopia. He controlled the city, but out there in the field he didn't have none of that, and that's where the guerrilla warfare took place from the Black Lions. And we want to give praise. Go do the research on the Ethiopian Black Lions, them revolutionary guerrilla warriors that was hitting his ass. They damn near hit one of their generals. You understand what I'm saying? They tried to blow his ass up too. I'm gonna do a video on that. And he was so brutal after that on the Ethiopian. But they tried to blow his ass up. He was riding through one of the areas. You understand? They had set off some bombs on his ass. I say, God damn, my people. Oh, my people, they are resilient, man. Even when you think we down. God damn it, they were still putting it. So I want to, give money. Do the research. Black Lions, Ethiopian revolutionary bloodline that was fighting them Italians and shit. But when, Britain, Haile Selassie went to Britain and got some, some so-called help from the British. The British was with the United Snakes and, and France fighting Russia. And Russia was with the United States and Britain fighting Germany and Italy. And so Britain come down to get Italy out of Ethiopia, end up taking it from the Italians and keeping it their goddamn self, separating Ethiopia from the coastline. So you can never, ever think that a European, a Caucasian will be your friend. And that's where we fail all the damn time. You give up one beast and then you get snuck by another beast. Okay, and so that's what happened. So this is Yazoo's palace, and you can see and from my understanding, this palace right here, a lot of money into this palace. Even though the Pheasalitis palace was larger, a lot of money went in. So the interior was so magnificent, it'll shock the mind. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of that been stolen out of there. That's why they got this fight going on right now where the Ethiopians trying to get back crowns. What time is it? Trying to get back crowns up out of Britain, where they got all the crowns and gold and that they done stole out of Ethiopia. Okay, now up front that's Pheasalitis, and in the back you see Yasu. Right there. It was uncommon, so they say. They say Haile Selassie took the crown from this young king because he wasn't strong enough. So he only ruled for, 3 years. But to have that kind of money, you know what I'm saying, to be able, he was of a very powerful bloodline. Okay, and here again, we see this is the castle of Bakafa, okay, who was another king. And I think he was either the son of Yasu. I got to get the back up. Okay, now This was that right there was a banquet hall. That's also on the compound. Okay, and this right here, and you can see how strong these castles is. All you had to do was go in there and put the interior back in. But the outer structure itself was so solidly built. And you're talking about 3, 4, you're talking about what I'm talking about 3. You're talking about 1600. So these is 400 and some going on 500 years old. You see what I'm now? This is Empress Mintiwa, okay? Mintiwa Castle. So even the good queen had, and I got to see who actually she was the empress of. You know what I'm saying? But whoever she was, you know, she had one of the most exquisite castles on the compound. You see the Moorish in there, even the arches that's in her castle. And so this is in Ethiopia, you know. And so right here, I'm just showing you, this is a gem. This is a hidden gem. Because really, to do it justice, you know, many of these nations are so large and got so many great monuments all over that you have to take these nations and break them down in sections to really give each one a due justice. Okay, let me keep it moving. Now, we creeping over to the stone town of Zanzibar. I can see why I was gonna do 2, you know, and I got to keep it moving because we got the other 2 on the general setting, and they all gonna be bop, 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 and profound. As we move into this and move into the next, you're just not gonna want to miss it. And so if you got to come out and go and get you something to eat, get you something to drink, the general getting down today, baby. If you're ready to get a profound study of Africa tonight, all over the board, from west to the south, west to east, north to south, tonight's the night. So here we talking about the stone town of Zanzibar, okay? Now this is Zanzibar is around Kenya off the Indian Ocean, the Kushite Ocean. There ain't no Indian yet. You understand what I'm saying? We don't want, the Indian ain't got no ocean next to Africa. So I don't know who named the Indian Ocean, but ain't no Indian, that's Kushite Ocean. Ain't no Indians got nothing to, and so they trying to steal, you know, aspects of African history. And when you go on in these areas like Madagascar and all of this and shit, you see, you know, a heavy influence of populations of Indians trying to be on the scene. You know, Madagascar and parts of, you know, the east coast of Africa. And so we got to be aware of this, and, you know, culture vultures, you know, trying to steal our motherland from us, and been doing, matter of fact, the Indians was in Africa when the British, because they were part of the British Empire. So they were soldiers for the British. And I've got pictures where the Indian army was in Egypt with the British, and they went and fighting us. Do you understand what I'm saying? Fighting us on the side of the British. Okay, so here we looking at, this is Stone Town. This is Stone Town, okay? And this is an old fort in Stone Town. Wait a minute, let me get Stone Zanzibar. Let me get the map. Let me get the map. Okay, here the map is. Okay, we on the map. Now, if you look at Zanzibar, the island, now we're going for argument's sake, we in the Indian Ocean. If you look, Zanzibar, if you look right next to Tanzania, you'll see Zanzibar Island. Okay, now what you're looking at here, you know, we go to West Africa and we understand the transatlantic slave trade, and you look at a lot of the forts that's on, you know, from the Ivory Coast, Ghana, Elmina, all up and down the Atlantic coastline. You got a lot of European slave forts where they put our peoples in dungeons and this, that, and the third. But see, we don't understand on the east coast of Africa, you got the Arabian slave trade. And so you will see many of these cities were profound at that time when the Arabian slave trade, where they took Africans from, you know, Africa to Arabia, to India, to China. You understand what I'm saying? Not as if we wasn't already over there and hadn't been going over there, thousands and thousands of years before the air was even on the scene. But this is just like the west coast of Africa. But Africans was taken east, and on the west coast of Africa, our peoples was taken west to the Western Hemisphere, to America. Okay, and so we got to get over here and look at the history of this area so we could become more informed about the Arab slave. We don't even talk about the Arab slave because everybody has been pushed to West Africa. Most motherfuckers want it as if they wasn't. You don't understand. This is a continental slave trade. You understand what I'm saying? If the Arab thought it was, they had all type of where they was bringing Africans from the east coast of Africa to the west coast of Africa. They had all type of slave routes and trade routes from east coast of Africa to west coast of Africa. And the European was using them at the time he started the Atlantic slave trade. So we can't just say we came from West Africa. We came from East Africa, South Africa, wherever they could get and capture Africans. That's where we came from. You understand? And so even though a large portion came from West Africa, many East Coast Africans was brought to the West Coast to be sold into slavery. So we got to be real about this, okay? So let me come back. So this is Zanzibar Island. You understand what I'm saying? And you see this is Stone Town, and it ain't just stones there. You understand what I'm saying? But you can see it's a heavy populated area in Zanzibar, and just like you see Elmina Castle and this, that, and the third, you see a lot of Portuguese forts and a lot of Portuguese structure, and that don't mean African people didn't have their hands in building it. Okay, what I'm saying? They had African hands building their own the structures that will later be symbols of their own slavery. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to look at that. And here we're looking at the Indian Ocean African slave trade, and they say 1500 to 1900 AD, which is a goddamn lie, because the Arab was into slavery when he came into Africa in 700 AD. They were already into slavery. And you're talking about 1500. Now, it might have been maybe, at that time where they start escorting them across the so-called Indian Ocean, but nevertheless, the Arab was into slavery before goddamn Islam. Okay, let's not be fooled by that. Okay, now we're going into Kiawah, Tanzania. Okay, now this is Kiawah. Where's Kiawah? Okay, it's further down, the most southern site. Kiawah, Kiswani. Okay, Kiawah, Kiswani. Okay, let's go in here. So again, this is like the East Coast, West Coast slave forts. Understand what I'm saying? So just like we go to Ghana and we go to Senegal and we go to all the areas we got to understand that the East Coast, in many instances, got some of the same type of artifacts, memorial monuments, and so on that, bring us closer to understanding the slavery that went on the East Coast. We got to quit being trapped in a box and trapped in one area where we're not looking at the whole of Africa and getting the whole, and because we missing too much. Now I'm showing you, maybe some of the colonizing architecture, but believe you me, those are just the up front. Once you go into the land, you're going to see there are artifacts and monuments in Tanzania, in Zimbabwe, and all that's far more ancient than these. Okay, but these structures is to help bring an understanding that there was a slave trade going on the East Coast too, that we cannot forget about. You understand what I'm saying? We got to understand that that's a lot of our family was carried off into these areas. And there's history about even one of the great African revolts in Iraq, which was documented as one of the greatest revolts in the Arab world, where the Africans revolted over there on their ass. You understand what I'm saying? And so that will only come if we, reconstruct our mind to understand that the whole of Africa is us, and that there wasn't just one slave trade, it was many slave trades which, happened to African people, and they were, running simultaneously, but just on different coastlines. And so here again, we in Kiawah. You understand what I'm saying? You're looking at some of the forts. You understand some of the forts that were there? You can see here again one of the, and this is, like I say, this is just like Elmina. This is just like Elmina on the East Coast. Let me move through. Now, this is the great mosque of Kiawah, okay? And you can see that stone structure. It looked no different than Ethiopia when you really look at it. You understand what I'm saying? Songo Manar, this is right outside of Kiawah. You understand? So you see the Islamic influence. But see, this is just the surface, family. This is just to get you to look and see, just like when you look at Elmina. But when you go into the interior of Ghana and you go into the interior of West Africa, you see far more ancient, more traditionally African monuments and African monuments and African artifacts that are far older than the colonizing architecture. You understand? So this you got to look at, so you can feel the pain and understand, what was happening at that time through the eyes of our ancestors. What they were just like when you go in hell, when you go to the door, no return, and you look through there and you try to visualize and the hurt and pain of our people when they went through them doors and never to see they families and they people and they land, man, they homeland ever again. You got to also go on the East Coast and feel that same experience. Understand what I'm saying? And understand what was going on with our people on the East Coast. This is the great mosque, and our people, we got to understand our people prayed here. Now, like I say, our people's is the foundation of our religions. You see what I'm saying? And so wherever we at, you understand what I'm saying? We the heartbeat of that culture, of that spiritual system, of that religion. Now, this is Kami. This is in Great Zimbabwe. Now, we know of the Great Zimbabwe structure, but we don't understand that there's far more ancient structures and artifacts and monuments in Zimbabwe other than Great Zimbabwe. See, this is what's shocking the mind, because Africa is so massive. And when you go in there and you see that, they show you the main structure. They show you the main monument, and then they act as if that's all that it is. So here you're looking at the construction of Kami, and it was built in the same cultural, spiritual blueprint of Great Zimbabwe. You see the stone, how they and even they got very intricate, even more intricate. Where even in Great Zimbabwe, it looked just like Great Zimbabwe, but they even got the ability to take them stones and make all type of geometrical designs in the wall. You understand? Now, when you go up through here, that looked just like Great Zimbabwe, but Great Zimbabwe used a more white stone, so it was more uniform. But here they did, because that's how we do. You put some red in there. You understand what I'm saying? You put some white in there. You see, but this just like Great Zimbabwe. If you look at the stone structures of Zimbabwe, the same, blueprint of how they built those areas is the same way that they built Kami. Now, you see, Kami is more to moving towards the west coast of Africa. The west coast of Zimbabwe. With Great Zimbabwe is more on the east coast. Okay? More on the east coast. Let me move through here so you can see this great structure. So if you go to Great Zimbabwe, you go to Zimbabwe, is more than one, area you should go and see. You know, they got areas that show you that these was intricate cities that had a network of cities, that they weren't just separate from one another. This was a great empire from the coastline into the interior of Africa, into the interior of Zimbabwe, and went throughout Southern Africa. Okay, not even with the stone circles, it will prove that those stone circle sacred geometrical astronomical areas complexes were all throughout Africa, showing you the cultural continuity, that this was cultures and a network of empires. You understand what I'm saying? Let me move through here. So this is Great Zimbabwe, and this is Tammy, Zimbabwe, showing you the cultural connection. Check it out. Profound. Now, this is Harare, Zimbabwe, and I'm going to show you because nobody want to talk. You talking about, and you wonder why, who put those damn megalithic stones all up, you know, just because they're in a European nation don't mean a European did it. African people was doing that from day one, from day one, from day one. They don't show you the ones that's in Africa far older. They don't show you the stone circle architectural complexes in Africa so you could understand where Stonehenge and the rest of them damn artifacts in Europe come from. So you see right here how they balanced them on them stones like that. Look at that. Now we're going to Gedi. Okay, Gedi ruins are a relic of the African Arab settlements found on the coast of East Africa from Mogadishu, Somalia, to the Vumba Ku at the border. Okay, let me move through. And so again, you're looking at, this is, let me see where we at. Where's exactly Gedi? Okay, Gedi is almost at the top. You understand what I'm saying? 1, 2, 3, 4 from the top. If you go all the way up to the top where it say Lamu, archipelago, and then you come down, you know, 3, you'll see Gedi. This is where this enclosure is at, okay? And you can, again, you're seeing the cultural continuity between all these empires. They got an architectural uniqueness and a connection to show you that this ain't just a culture, you know, disconnected from all the other civilizations in Africa. You understand? So, because I'm tired of people acting like if you got to claim this, we claiming all of Africa. We claiming all of Africa. Yes, when we being distinctive and we say this is Ghanaian or this is Ethiopian or this is Senegalese or this is over here is Congolese. Yeah, we being distinctive, but yet and still Africa has a cultural continuity that connects all Africans on the continent. Okay, showing you now. I ain't gonna go into that because that's Adam's calendar. Now that's gonna bring us into the second video where we're going off into the stone circle calendars. You got to see this. Neptuplier, what they call an Adam's calendar or clock in South Africa, where we talking about Stonehenge, even dealing with what we saw in Yemen and making a connection and showing a blueprint that's all across the planet cannot be denied. I'm going to be in, I'm going to be out. Give me about 5 minutes, family. I'm coming right back in. If you can't stay, I thank you for being here. I wish if you get a chance, come back and watch it because it's going to feed right into from where we at right now. And so it's really one lecture, but we have to separate it so we could be distinctive and focus in on these certain areas and give it the time it needs. All right, family, I'll be back in about 5-10 minutes. Don't miss Black.